This is the Rock and Roll and Coffee Show. I am Joe Sibilia. If you are listening to the audio version of this podcast, please head on over to YouTube, where you can see all of my conversations, including this one, in video format. While you're there, please subscribe to the channel and ring the bell so you don't miss a single episode. My next guest started his musical journey playing drums and soon after switched to guitar and released a couple instrumental solo records. Around 2015, he went on to join Powerman 5000 and has been in the band up until about a few weeks ago when he decided to step away. He is now concentrating on his synth pop band Raygun Romance and has quite a few songs out there, as well as videos on all streaming platforms. My guest is musician Ty Oliver. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy the show.
It's the Rock and Roll and Coffee Show, yeah, with Joe.
Ty, so listen, you started as a drummer from what I understand, correct?
Yeah. I started out on drums. That was kind of like the thing that got me interested in wanting to actually play. Was I thought, I remember seeing Tommy Lee and like Lost Elias from Slaughter, and I just thought they just looked so cool. I'm like, I want to do that. That's just so cool and badass,
Right.
And twirling sticks and their big giant drum kits. And so that got me to get a drum kit. And my mom was cool enough to like let me have one and practice at the house. And
That's a pretty cool mom.
yeah, she was super cool. But and then my friends would just come over and we just jam at my house after school. That's like what we would do. And so that's how it started. Yeah, totally, man.
How long did you play drums?
Well, I switched back and forth between drums and guitar for like a while. Probably a good several years. And then in like 2001, I'd say I really got serious about, okay, I'm going to play guitar. And I focused like all my energy on guitar at that point,
Okay. Was there guitars around the house? I mean, what made you switch to guitar?
My friends would leave their gear at my house.
Okay.
We jam and then they just leave their stuff there. So I just kind of started fooling around with it because I couldn't play drums at night, So I just kind of started fooling around with it. Let's keep going. Sorry, man.
No worries.
I just started fooling around because they were there and just kind of slowly but surely kind of learned some things and taught myself how to play. And but I didn't take it seriously. I just did it because it was fun, so it wasn't like I wasn't like set on, I'm going to get good at guitar. It just kind of came over time. I just sort of, eventually I could play, a little bit, yeah.
So were you always self-taught or did you end up getting lessons?
Yeah, self-taught, man. I mean, I had a good friend of mine, who I hung out with all the time. This guy, Matt Sotelo, he's actually a super good guitar player. And, he was like my best buddy. And so I was just kind of always hanging out with him and watching him play. And so I think just by being around him, that was definitely a big influence on me. And he showed me, cool gear and cool guitar players to check out. He was into all the 80s shredders guys and, turned me on to all that.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, never did lessons, just kind of listened to a lot of music, watched my favorite videos and just kind of absorbed it over time,
Yeah. From what I understand, you were pretty big into the 80s hair metal bands too, right?
Oh yeah, still am.
Yeah. Yeah, still are. Is that what you listen to a lot of?
Yeah, big time. I mean, I like a lot of modern stuff too, and pop music and alternative stuff and electronic stuff, but I'm an 80s guy, dude. I love the 80s, man.
Yeah, I'm with you, as you can probably tell by I guess.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's why I listen, because it's always somebody I'm a fan of, so I'm like, oh, cool.
Yeah. So now you started doing some instrumental albums also, correct?
Yeah, I did. That's kind of what when I got really focused on guitar, I was like super into Joe Satriani and Steve Vai. And that was like my first, like, I'm going to focus and I'm going to make, I just kind of was just ripping off Joe Satriani. I mean, I wanted to be those guys so bad,
Really?
So, but that was my first, like, focused, I'm going to make some songs and we're put out a CD and like, so I did that. I did 2 CDs and had a 3-piece band just under my own name and did like the instrumental thing. And yeah, I pushed that really as hard as I could, on like MySpace and stuff. That was like MySpace days.
MySpace,
Yeah, so which was really cool. I liked MySpace. I thought it was like a great promotional tool, and people seemed to like respond to it.
Oh
And
yeah, it was very cool when it came out.
yeah, it was big, man. And when it all switched over to Facebook, it just didn't seem to get the same response, you know.
Right.
And so I felt like that was kind of a bummer, but it became harder to promote yourself, it seemed like, I guess. Or to get as much of a response from it, I suppose. But yeah, so I was doing the instrumental thing. That's what I was doing for a long time and several years, and then it just kind of ran its course, and I kind of got burned out, and I was like, I want to just be in a band and not worry about whether I'm playing guitar solos, or I want to be in like a real band. You know, I just started to kind of gravitate more towards that kind of thing. And so, you know, and then I started writing music that, you know, wasn't about guitars and all about guitar solos and stuff, and, you know, kind of just moved out of that whole instrumental thing after a while, you know.
Right. So when you're writing an instrumental song, I mean, how do you approach writing that? Or do you just put on the background tracks and just jam, or do you actually sit down and think about how your leads are going to go?
It's been a long time now since I've done it, but I used to just write the music part of it, like the instrumental section. Well, no solos. It would just be, you know, the skeleton of the song. I would write the arrangement, and then I would just sit there and like noodle over it until I came up with lines I liked. And then there would be like solo sections where I would be like, okay, this is where I'm going to actually do like a specific, like, you know, flashy part. And I would just fucking noodle over it until I found lines I liked, you know. Because again, I'm not like, I don't have any theory or, you know, I don't read music or anything. So I would just have to like play over it until I found stuff I liked, you know.
Something that sounded good.
Yeah, right, totally.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And then, so when you got out of that and you started writing songs with a band, I mean, you weren't singing or anything, right? You didn't start singing until later.
No, that's super recent. I would just write like I always kind of used a similar formula for writing songs, in that I kind of go with the pop format, like, you know, intro, verse, pre-chorus, chorus kind of thing. So I've always kind of arranged it in that way. So that's like my starting point. And so for songs with, you know, vocals over it, I would just do the same thing. I would just write an instrumental piece with those, you know, that kind of setup, and then hopefully the singer can put something over it, or they're inspired by it or whatever, you know.
And have you always been a songwriter?
I mean, I've always kind of wanted to write songs, you know. Even early on when I was playing guitar, I was always kind of coming up with riffs, and I wasn't too big on cover songs, you know what I mean? I never really, I never really gravitated towards that, which honestly, I kind of wish I did more of, because it can help you learn a lot, and it can show you all kinds of stuff that you might not even think of, and help out your playing just in general. But yeah, I was just kind of trying to come up with my own stuff. That was fun to me, you know what I mean? It was appealing. Yeah.
And what years was this? What was this roughly about?
Oh, the instrumental stuff?
Well, when you started getting into the bands and stuff.
Oh, okay. So the instrumental thing kind of phased out by, I'd say, like 2009, and then I found this singer named Megan McCauley on MySpace. I just was like, I like some of her music, and I went and looked on her MySpace page, and she had just put up a blog that she was like looking for new band members. And so I reached out, and I started going back and forth with her then sort of manager at the time. And I ended up moving to LA. This is like in like 2009. And I ended up relocating myself for that band. And it didn't last very long. We did like 2 local shows, and the whole thing totally imploded. And it was like huge dramatic like falling out. And yeah, it was a whole nightmare situation. But
so you moved for 2 songs.
Yeah, for 2 gigs. Yeah, man. Well, at the time it was like,
for 2 gigs. Yeah.
You know, I was a lot more inexperienced and sort of naive, and I was like, oh man, this is my big break. I'm gonna make it. She's on Wind Up Records, and you know, it was like the carrot being dangled in front of me, and I was like, oh my god. And so ended up not working out, but the bass player that was in that band actually was AP from Gemini Syndrome.
Okay.
Yeah, so he went off and ended up in Gemini Syndrome. He's doing great. But yeah, so it was a weird experience. And that was my first venture into a band thing. And then that, you know, like I said, imploded. And then after that, about a year later, like 2010-ish, I re-linked up with a high school buddy who I didn't even know was a musician, but I hadn't talked to him since high school. And he had actually been singing for this band, I Am Ghost, and was signed to like Epitaph. And he was like, had done Warped Tour and like was really successful. And that band had just fallen apart. And he moved back to Santa Cruz, where I was from. And we just kind of reconnected and ended up writing a bunch of songs. And like, he wanted to start a new project. And so we did this thing called Requiem for the Dead. Wrote a bunch of songs, him and I. It was kind of like a goth electronic rock industrial metal band kind of thing. Okay. So we did an album. We started playing shows, and I was like super excited about that whole project. And that lasted, I don't know, like a good year and a half. And then him and I had a falling out. We just started disagreeing over, you know, direction and whatnot. And I was probably being kind of an asshole too, but
we'll skip that part.
But yeah, no, it's all good, man. But yeah, I was really proud of that album. We put out an album called Always and Forever in 2011. And he had a big following from his previous band, so it got a good amount of attention online and stuff. And the first few shows we did were super fun, and people showed up. And then, you know, it just kind of got a little rocky, and I ended up splitting. And that was like 2012 or so. Yeah, 2012. And then I played in a couple local Bay Area kind of goth industrial bands. One was called Limnus, and then the other one was Suicide Queen. Suicide Queen is actually still around. They're still active and stuff. So
okay.
And we would just open for, like, you know, the headliners that would come through in San Francisco and stuff. And that was a lot of fun, but I wasn't writing material in that. I was just like playing their stuff, you know, as a guitar player, and just to get my live kicks out and stuff, you know. So
right.
Yeah.
So you were into, like we said, the 80s music and stuff, but were you into like the Depeche Modes and all those back then too?
Yeah, well, yeah, for sure.
Did that come later?
Like I love like In Excess and Simple Minds and, you know, Aha and Information Society, all that kind of stuff, you know. So I love all that and the hair metal stuff too, and, you know, so there's a wide spectrum of that, all that, you know, stuff that I like. But yeah, no, so absolutely.
Do you remember a band called what were they called, Nitzer Ebb or something like that?
Yeah, I've heard them.
Do you remember them?
I'm not super familiar with their stuff, but I'm aware of them. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. I was just curious if you heard of them, because I remember I used to listen to them back in the day. I don't know what happened to them, but anyway.
I want to say they're still going, because I kind of dabble in like the goth scene, and like that name comes up a lot, you know. But
I'll have to look
I could be wrong, you know. Maybe they're not, but
yeah.
Sure.
All right. So then, so when you were growing up, was there music in the house, or did you just decide to play drums?
No, my mom was like she was always cranking music, and she had good tastes. Like, you know, honestly, some of the stuff that the first band I ever liked was the Cars. That was like, I got obsessed with the Cars when I was a kid. I had all the tapes. But yeah, my mom always had the radio on, and it was right in that era of like the Duran Durans and you know, Talking Heads, and so that was sort of my introduction to hearing music all the time, you know, was that golden era of like the 80s and stuff. So
yeah, that was a great time.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
For music,
so
definitely.
So yeah, she took me to my first concert, which was Tom Petty and Lenny Kravitz. Tom Petty and Lenny Kravitz.
Okay, that's a good one.
1990. It was like the Full Moon Fever tour.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, my mom definitely kind of had that influence on me for sure, because she was always listening to music and had good taste, and we still like click on bands, you know. So
yeah. Does she like the music you put out?
Yeah. She's, you know, she's always, she's a big supporter, and I know, you know, she's a little critical here and there, but it's all good.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
So then somehow along the way, you ended up finding your way into Powerman 5000.
Yeah, man. yeah, so it's super just random and by chance how it happened, because I was kicking around in the Bay Area, like I said, playing in, a local band there. And I'd been a Powerman fan for like a long time. Like they were one of my favorite bands for a long time. And I was very active on their social media. If they posted something, I always commented or liked it or, shared it, etc. And but I didn't know any of those guys at all. I'd never actually met them. And I was kind of in a weird spot where I had a day job. I worked full time. I was very comfortable, and I'd kind of hit a point where, well, I'm getting a little older now. Like, I'm probably not gonna ever do the touring thing and make it, quote unquote. You know what I mean? Like, I kind of had this moment where I had to just kind of let that dream go. I was like, oh, it's not gonna happen. I tried and it's not happening. And it was a bummer, dude. It was like
I've been there.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, all right, I guess I'm just a weekend warrior now, and so I kind of had accepted that. And then, but I was still out playing around and having fun. And then this one day I was at work, and I was in the morning, I was on Facebook instead of working, and and I get this message from the guitar player from Powerman at the time, and he's like, hey Ty, do you have any live video of you playing? And I was like, yeah, sure. It was very odd, totally out of left field. And so long story short, we are going back and forth. He's like, hey, can you record yourself playing these songs? We think we're going to be looking for a guitar player. Can you audition, etc.? And I was just like, I'll do whatever you want.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, wow. Dude. I was like, so
did they hear you play before he asked you, or how do you know you played?
I don't think so. I don't know, because I didn't really have any of my own music out at that time, like that was current. It was nothing that I was pushing at that time. I was just kind of playing in somebody else's band. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so he said, hey, send me you record these songs, learn them, record them, send them to us. And and then they were like, hey, can you audition on this day? And I was like, sure. So I drove down to LA after work one night, because I was in Santa Cruz, which was like 6-7 hours away.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a long way.
Yeah, so I was commuting like after work.
That's a long time to think about things.
Yeah,
and get your nerves up.
Man. I think the first time I went, I had this set like just playing over and over again. Like the whole drive down there, and I was like, all right, I can't forget this, I can't forget that. I was like just sweating it, so long story short, I wound up getting in the band. It went well. I mean, I was nervous as shit. I made a bunch of mistakes, but they let me, hang out. So
were they all there when you walked in?
Yeah. I met up with the guitar player, Nick, and then we went to the rehearsal spot, and some of the other guys were there. And then eventually, everyone came in, and even like Spider's girlfriend was there, and they were like sitting right in front of me. And I was like, oh my God, this is
just to help with the nerves.
Yeah. It's like, this is fun. Yeah, it all went well. And then I ended up, getting to do like a test run of shows. There was like 5 or 6 shows that were coming up, out in like, the Midwest somewhere. And, and they were like, yeah, let's go do the shows, see how it goes. And, we did it. It was fucking super fun. I mean, I immediately was like, oh yeah, I want in. I want to do this, and they kept calling me back, and I was in it all the way until honestly just a couple weeks ago.
Just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I just recently like left the band. So
okay, why'd you leave?
Man, it's kind of weird. It's we didn't do anything. The band wasn't doing anything for like 2 years because of the COVID and stuff, we had everything shut down, and we had a tour booked, and it got just pushed and pushed and pushed until honestly they're on it right now. I think it's like
right.
makeup dates
for
that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I like this last fall, the band actually had a couple of dates. There was like a whiskey show and like a Vegas show. And I had just got a new job that I like desperately needed. And I was the new guy. I couldn't like get time off because I just started. Yeah. And so I wasn't able to do those shows with them. And they went ahead and played without me, that's fine. Totally get it.
Yeah.
And then there wasn't like a whole conversation after that, but the band group text kept going, and we were still kind of chatting it up here and there. And then this tour was coming up, and I was like, I should reach out to Spider, because we haven't talked like since that happened. So I'm not totally sure what he's thinking, or
Right.
Last I checked, I was in the band still, so
Right.
I'm sorry, this keeps turning off.
Yeah, you're good.
And so I reached out and I'm like, hey man, I just wanted to see what's up. Haven't talked in a while, and see what the status is. And he's like, I'm like, I definitely want to keep playing. And like, he's like, hey, let me talk to the guys and I'll get back to you. And I was like, okay. And so we ended up getting on the phone and had this big long conversation. And like, he was like, yeah, some of the guys are kind of, opposed to you coming back, and like there's some issues with your playing and gear. And it was totally out of left field. I was just like,
Wow.
super caught off guard by it. And it just kind of, I just was kind of like stunned. It was like, what?
Yeah.
What,
I don't know what to
really?
say.
Like,
Yeah.
I was like, so all of a sudden, like, since when? Like,
Right.
I've been playing in this band for years now, and it's never been an issue. So
Yeah.
then it just kind of got weird after that. And they were like, okay, if you do this, this, and this, we'll have you back, kind of thing. Work on these things. And I was just kind of like, oh, okay, all right, I'll do it. And but then, so I had to do some homework, which I did, which is weird because it never been this way, after all these years. And then I was like, okay, the true test is going to be, what's the vibe going to be like when I get in the room with the guys? You know what I mean?
Right.
And because I was already feeling really weird, all of a sudden I didn't feel like, the vibe was just different. All of a sudden I'm like, wow, there's people who don't want me back. Like, I thought these guys were my friends. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
you're like almost an outsider at this point now.
Yeah, all of a sudden it was
Yeah.
like, I don't feel like I'm one of the guys anymore. Like, what's going on? This is super strange. And so going in, I was already not feeling good about it, so we had a rehearsal, but Spider wasn't there. And right away, the vibe was just, I just knew, I'm like, it's not going to be the same. Like, I can't, it's not going to work, I'm still buds with the guys, but something changed. I'm not totally sure why. And I just felt it. And I was like, you know what? It's not going to be fun. Like, if it's not going to be fun, then I don't want to do it, so
Sure.
I kind of knew right then and there. I'm like, all right, you know what? I think it's my time to just, walk away from it.
Right.
Which was unfortunate because I didn't see that coming, and it's not how I saw it going down at all.
Yeah,
so
that sucks. That, I mean, they just couldn't be upfront with you and tell you what the reason.
I mean, yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't want to, because it's all good. There's no bad blood at all. I love those guys. I'm forever grateful for the opportunity I had, and it changed my life, man. I mean, it fucking changed my life.
You got some great memories there.
Absolutely, dude. I mean, I got to do things that I honestly had only daydreamed about until that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and meet people and play with bands that I had on my wall, and like, meet people that I had the poster of, and you know what I mean? It was awesome. Yeah. So that happened just recently, and it's definitely, I'm still kind of, it's a little weird. I'm still
getting used to it.
Yeah. I'm still kind of like, okay, they're out there and I'm not with them. This is weird.
How long were you in the band?
From 2015 until just a couple weeks ago.
Okay, so yeah, quite a long time.
Yeah, good long time. Yeah. I mean, obviously, we weren't. There wasn't a gig for like 2 years, but
yeah. Did you record on the albums, or I mean, how does it work with Powerman?
No, I didn't.
You didn't. Okay.
Spider has a producer that he works with, and basically that's like his right hand man, and they pretty much write all the tunes and do the whole thing. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So yeah, I might put my pictures on it on the CD.
There you go. So what they
and my name is too. So
they do these tunes, give them to you, and you learn them.
Yeah, basically it's like, hey, here's the set. This is what we're gonna play, and if he wanted to swap a song in or out, he's like, hey guys, learn this, and we'll go over it at the next rehearsal, kind of thing. So that's how it went. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And
it's a trip, man. It was like, because when I first came in, I was under the impression that like, oh man, the next album we're all gonna play and write it, and it's gonna be this whole thing. And then I quickly found out that it's like that wasn't the case, which at first I I kind of was bummed out about, but
Sure.
then I kind of also got to see just how that goes down a lot with a lot of bands. And I totally understood it a bit more when over time, and it didn't bum me out anymore. I was kind of like, okay, you know, it's all good.
Yeah.
It's his band, it's Spider's band, it's his project, you know.
Mhm.
And he knows what he wants, and you know, so, and he does a good job at it, you know. So,
Mhm.
and I got to play the shows and be in the videos and, you know, in the
Yeah.
photos and stuff. So I
Great
all
time.
good, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you spoke with Spider since in the last few weeks?
Yeah, I mean, we
Yeah.
had a back and forth, and, you know, I was like,
Good.
hey man, just, you know, want to make sure, just to make sure we're all good. And yeah, so we're good, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, totally. He's
So
he's a great guy, dude. He's a super nice guy, man.
Is he? I've never
Yeah,
met him, but I mean, he seems cool.
Yeah, he's a good dude. It's fun to go on tour with. He's, you know, he's a fun guy to play music with and work with, and yeah, he's totally down to earth and cool. So yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then while you were in Powerman, is that when you started Raygun Romance?
Yeah, so I started the Raygun Romance thing in 2019 officially, because I just hadn't, my head was just so in Powerman, but I wasn't being creative really. And I missed having, you know, some sort of creative outlet. I just hadn't had the itch for a while, and suddenly I just got it, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna start, you know, I want to start writing some music again and have like a project. And and I knew, though, at the time I started it, that it was going to be more of an electronic thing. Like,
Yeah,
I was like,
not
I'm not
the
going to worry.
same as
I'm not
Powerman.
going to. No.
Yeah.
It was. I was going to do something that was definitely not guitar based. You know, I was not going to worry if it was heavy or if it had no guitar or some guitar. I just wanted it to be however I wanted it. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, because I liked electronic music. I liked like goth stuff and 80s stuff, and so I just kind of like, I finally started to get like a vibe and a vision for it, and I started, you know, writing some music, and it just took shape. And originally, though, it started out where I was just making the music, and then I had hired a singer to do the first 6 songs I put out. And so that was, which was great. You know, the first stuff I did, I love it, is great. But then she was also just a hired gun. So once those 6 songs were kind of done, you know, she was back doing her own thing. And I was kind of like, well, shit, I want to keep going, but I don't have a singer now.
Right. Who was the singer? What was her name?
Natalie Nebula. That's Natalie Nebula. Excuse me. That's her like stage name or whatever.
Sure.
But great singer who I met through MySpace again, and I kept in touch with.
That MySpace.
Yeah. So that first batch of songs came out, and then I kept writing, but I didn't know how I was going to move forward with it. Like, I'm like, well, maybe I can just have a guest singer on each song. And I quickly realized that was not going to be sustainable, because people, it's never their priority. You always got to like chase somebody around, or like, you know, I was constantly just like waiting, and I was like dying to put stuff out. So honestly, out of necessity, I just was like, and frustration, I was like, well, fuck it, I'm just going to try and sing myself. And I've done karaoke, you know, that's about it.
Yeah, it's a little
so
different.
It was definitely like, you know, okay, maybe I'm kidding myself. Like, maybe this is going to be terrible. Like, it's not going to work. But I did a couple things at home, and it was just good enough to where I was like, I think I can get away with this. I think I can pull it.
You're brave.
And then I showed somebody, you know, a couple people, one of the first things I did, which was a cover song, was that Goo Goo Dolls song Naked. And I made like an electronic version of it, and people's reactions weren't like, they were good, which I was surprised. I was kind of like, all right, how's it going to be? Are they going to be like, dude, this is not good, you can't sing?
No, geez. Yeah.
You know,
I mean, how did you find your vocal range, or did you experiment with different ways of singing it, or I mean, how did you find how you sing?
I kind of had an idea, because I'd done karaoke a bunch, and I had some songs that like I knew I could do, and like kind of showed me where I could sit, you know what I mean? And so, but that was my only guide. Like, I just kind of was like, well, I can kind of do this kind of range, so I think I can get away with that, you know, kind of thing. And I'm still learning, man. I mean, I'm not like some amazing singer by any means, but I can do it enough to where I can finish the art, and that's the goal. You know what I mean? Okay. So, yeah.
So, are you writing all the songs and the vocals and lyrics and everything now?
Yeah, it's all, yeah, I'm a one-stop shop, man. It's
Wow.
I'm recording it, I'm filming the videos, I'm editing it, started mixing my own stuff for better or worse. Just
Oh, it
out of
sounds
necessity.
great. Yeah, it
Thanks,
sounds
man.
great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. The first batch of songs though, I had a producer I was working with, this guy David Nazi, who's awesome. He's super good,
Mm.
super duper good, super pro. But again, he just got busier and busier, and I was wanting to do stuff, faster than he could get to it, kind of thing.
Mhm.
And so, and it was also costly. Like I couldn't afford
Sure.
to pay him every time. And he was also already giving me a deal, so I felt kind of bad about that. But so I was like, screw it. I'm gonna try mixing my own shit. And for better or worse, I'm like, if I can even get it in the ballpark of not terrible, then like I think I'll be all right.
It seems tough. It's
It is
tough to
tough,
mix.
dude. It's really
Yeah.
hard, especially because I had crappy monitors before. So I'd go put something in my car that sounded great in here, and it would just be awful.
Yeah.
And like the frequencies were just all over the place, and that I couldn't even tell when I was playing back in my room. So
Mhm.
there's some trial and error there, and it took, some things probably took longer than they could have. But yeah, I feel like I'm getting it close enough to me where I'm happy, but there's obviously room for improvement.
Sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's nothing worse than having it sound good on your computer, because I do the same thing in this room. I do
Yep.
recording, and then you're like, yes, and you take it into your car and it
Yep.
sounds terrible.
Just muddy bass, and
Yeah.
just totally, man. It's a trip. It's that's why people get paid to do it, that are really good at it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
I realized that later on. I realized that, found that out.
Yeah, right.
But-
Totally, man.
But so when you're
Yeah.
writing these types of songs, because what would you categorize these songs in, if you had to say what type of songs they are?
I just call it like synth pop, electronic rock,
Mhm, mhm.
that kind of thing. Yeah.
So when you're writing the song, it's not like you're coming up with a guitar riff or anything, right?
No.
So how do you
no.
start writing a song like this?
That's the difference is I basically have a keyboard, and I use the program Reason for all the sounds, programming drums, all the keyboard synth sounds, all of it. So all the bass lines and stuff. So what I'll do is I'll just kind of, sometimes I might just start out like creating a beat, and I think it sounds kind of cool, and then I'll try to put a bass line over it, or just a keyboard line over it, or maybe I'll just start off with a keyboard part I like, and then build around that. I basically just start off with one of those elements, and then build around it, and the vocals too. Like sometimes as I'm putting it together, I'll come up with like vocal lines while I'm doing it. Yeah.
Mhm.
And sometimes they go quick, and sometimes it's like I'm banging my head against the wall for a month or two. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So you have all singles out now, right? There's not a full album out?
yeah, no, it's like as I was doing it, that's just seems to be the way things are consumed these days, and it just makes
Mhm.
more sense because everything's streaming, and
Yeah.
you can just listen to things in a row anyways.
Mhm.
And also as far as promotion, you see bands these days, they put out their album, and the turnaround on things is so quick that like in 2 weeks it's like forgotten about. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Or the cycle has just slowed down, and it's like, how many times can you say our new album's out, and then people just don't care anymore, so
Right. No, I
with a
think that's
single,
definitely a good approach that way with the singles.
yeah, and with a single you can put one out and promote it and do your whole cycle on it, and then put another one out in like 6 weeks or 2 months or whatever. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Mhm.
At least that's how I'm looking at it. I mean, I'm struggling to get eyes and ears on it myself. It's like
Right.
I feel like without like some sort of promotional budget and PR team, like you're almost you're just fucking fighting. You're just going uphill, man. It's tough.
Yeah, it's tough. It's real tough.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
you just released one not too long ago. Let It Go. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That was January. Yeah.
Yeah.
January. And yeah, and like, it's like I had the little cycle for that, and then now I don't have anything that I'm 100% excited about and ready to to roll out. So there's been kind of just this like downtime.
Mhm.
And I'm but I've got stuff in the works. I want to put something else out. Obviously, I haven't locked it down just yet. So
Mhm. How
Yeah.
how many songs do you have that you're not 100% on yet?
there's two and a third in the works. There's even probably maybe another one in there, but there's two that are done that I finished, and I just listened to them and I'm like,
something's not there.
Yeah, I'm just like, yeah, I don't know about this one, you know. So
yeah, that happens though.
Yeah.
Are you pretty?
They can't all be winners, man.
That's right. That's what my mom always told me.
Yeah, there you go.
Are you pretty picky on your songwriting? Like before you put it out, does it have to be like, yes, that's it?
I mean, I try to be, but then, you know, and it's like, I might be excited about something at that time. And then 6 months later, I listen to it. And I'm like, well, maybe that wasn't as good as I thought it was.
Yeah.
You know, so, I mean, I try to be picky, man. Yeah. I want it to be good and I want people to be excited about it, but you know, you never know who's going to like what. And, you know, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what do you plan on doing with Raygun Romance? Are you going to just be a studio project? Are you going to take it live? What's the plan for it?
That's a very good question, man. There's a part of me that really wants to take it live and feels like I need to. But I'm also like, well, how's that going to work? What's that going to look like?
Right.
Is it me and a laptop, which would just be dumb? Or
let you put a big mask on or something.
Right.
Don't they do that?
Yeah. You know, or is it going to be a live drummer with an electronic kit or a keyboard player? You know, I don't totally know, but
yeah,
I definitely I feel like I need to do that, you know, because it's kind of scary, because then I'm like, oh, I have to get up there and like be a front man guy, like, you know, and actually sing live. Like,
so you've never done terrifying. That live?
What's that?
You've never done that live?
No, I mean, karaoke, that's it, dude.
Yeah.
You know, so so it's like terrifying, but also I feel like I need to do that. I need to have that experience, you know what I mean? And see if I can do it.
Right. I don't even know where you would start to put a band together to make that kind of music. I
mean, because I follow projects like that or bands like that. It's and their live setups are different. You know, some of them have a drummer and a keyboard player, and then somebody's operating a laptop, and you know, there's all kinds of different ways to do it. But yeah, I'm not sure either, like where I would go first, to be honest. I definitely want a lot of cool lighting though.
Yeah. Well, you have a lot of cool lighting in your videos, and you say you record those yourself? You do all that?
Well, the last two videos I did, the most recent two, yeah, I just did them with my phone and a ring light, and had to get really fucking tricky with editing, you know. But the other ones, they were filmed. I would just rent a space, and I would have my ex-girlfriend. She would film it, and then I would edit it. Yeah. So. Yeah.
Okay. And then how did you find that process? Was it hard for you to pick up on, or what? The recording and editing process.
Oh, like the video part?
Yeah.
I was just out of, you know, necessity, man. I really wanted to make videos really bad. And I started asking around, like with a couple of, I actually asked Spider, because he makes movies. Him and his girlfriend, actually, they do movies. And so I asked him, I'm like, hey, what's a good camera to get? Or like, what's this editing software to use? And another friend of mine, actually, he's the merch guy for Powerman. He does film stuff too. And they just kind of gave me some pointers. They're like, you know, get this app, watch this video on how to edit, and that kind of thing. And so I just kind of took some notes, and then they were also like, oh, you can, if you get the right app, you can film a video on your phone and it will look good. And I didn't believe it at first. I was like, no way, it'll look amateur, you know.
What
and it's called Filmic Pro.
What is it?
Filmic Pro.
Filmic?
Yeah. And it's got this setting on it that it gives it that sort of movie-ish look here and there. It can. And so that I was like, okay, I got the app and I kind of fooled around with it. I'm like, wow, I think this could work, you know. And yeah, so and then I had to get a whole separate laptop for editing, because the footage is like 4K, and it just kills a computer if they can't handle it, you know. So
no, I know there.
So I just winged it, man. I just started, you know, chopping stuff up and seeing how it came out. And I mean, I'm by no means I'm no expert. I just kind of know what I like and when I see it, and just kind of wing it, man.
Well, I mean, your videos look great. So, I mean, you're doing a
Thanks,
great
dude.
job.
Thanks,
Yeah.
man.
I was
Yeah,
really
I was really
impressed.
stoked. I was stoked because I was like wanted to do a video forever, and I just kind of another thing where it was either too expensive or the person I wanted to work with was busy forever.
Yeah.
And I was always kind of chasing him around, and so finally I was just like, dude, how can I do this myself? You know,
Mhm.
so, and that's then that kind of led me into just giving it a shot. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm. Do you think you'll ever find yourself looking for another band situation similar to Powerman, like guitar heavy?
You know, I mean, I'm not opposed to it, but I'm not like worried about it at the moment. I'm kind of
Mhm.
just gonna go with the flow for now and keep working on my own stuff. And kind of not sure right now. I mean, if something
Mhm.
comes along, absolutely, but I'm not like actively looking at the moment.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Well,
Um,
there's a little bit of freedom there when you're doing your own thing too.
yeah,
You know?
absolutely, yeah, for sure. And I mean, that's just kind of what I've been doing the last 2 years, anyways, because everything's shut down, and so
Yeah.
I'm kind of used to it now. So, but I am there is that itch to get out and play gigs. I mean, so
Mhm.
eventually I'll have to do something.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Okay. So where
yeah.
can your music's available everywhere, right? All streaming services?
Yeah, I'll just stream YouTube, Spotify, the usual places. Yeah, I'm at Apple, all that. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
And you have a YouTube channel? I
I
saw,
do.
right?
Yeah, it's just I think it's just Raygun Romance. If you just
Mhm.
Google or search on YouTube Raygun Romance, all the videos are there. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, man. Well, cool. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day there, Ty.
Yeah, dude. Thanks for having me, man. Like I said, I listen to your interviews all the time, man. So
Hey, I appreciate
it's
it. Need all the
yeah,
help I can get.
yeah, man. No, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I love the combos with like Jizzy Pearl. He's always a fun one.
Oh, he's great. Yeah, I've had him
Yeah,
twice.
yeah,
He's a great guy.
totally, man. But
But
yeah, no, it's cool to be on here, man. I appreciate you having me on.
all right, Ty. Listen, man, you take care.
All right, you too, man.
All right. See you.
Later, Joe.